you ever wondered what the best way is to start a lower league save in Football Manager? I'm going to show you how to go from tip to tail, the best way to approach this, going from salary and staff, training, tactics, youth development, transfers, the whole kit and caboodle. So let's go. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another guide for Football Manager, this time for managing in the lower leagues. Remember to smash the like button and subscribe to my channel for more Football Manager content and guides like this. And I'm going to take you through going through the lower leagues with my team, FC Stockholm in Sweden, in the regional divisions. All right, here we are with FC Stockholm in the Division 1 of Sweden. I think we're in the North Division. There are regional divisions in this, so we're semi-professional. And that means part-time training, part-time players, part-time staff. So let's go through it. So one of the first things I do when starting a lower league save, after you've been through the interview process, you have to take a look at the finances. Oftentimes you got very little money to play with. Looking at this right now, we've got $2.5 thousand and a $6,000 wage budget, which is pretty good, actually. This is the second season in for me, so I've been promoted once already. So last season we had a $3,000 wage budget, very little money, and we were in pretty big debt. So right now the overall balance is $17,000. We're a publicly owned team, so we get cash injections from the community board every once in a while. So that helps the club, but maybe your club is not even in that situation. So you've got to look at these finances, see where you're paying most of your expenses. Likely will be player wages and staff wages. Those are the two highest for me. So you've got to kind of be pretty particular in who you've got in your squad, how much you're paying them, and the staff as well. Also, looking at the income coming in, fundraising is clearly the highest income for my club, which means we're just getting charity money, basically. So not much else is coming in at all throughout the season. Like the attendances are low. We don't get any really TV revenue or sponsorship revenue that's significant. So it's pretty tough down in those lower leagues. So one of the first things I do is looking at the staff allocations. You'll have slots available to you probably that you can fill up, but you got to kind of think to yourself, what are the quality of staff that we can bring into the club that's going to make a difference? Is it worth paying their wages, or is it just good enough as it is? Especially down in the youth teams. So you don't want to overspend in these places, in the under-19s, the reserve teams. A lot of the time, the youth players that you have in your squad are not even going to be good enough to ever come up to the first team. You might as well just let them all go if you want. So you can go through those youth contracts. I tend to do that here. I'll go through the squad, and I've let a whole bunch of players go already. I've only got 3 left in my under-19s. And that's good because it's wages we don't need to be spending. Oftentimes your board won't even give you that many staff slots to hire for anyways, so you don't have to worry about it too much. But be careful, just don't overspend. Don't fill every spot just because it's there and empty. You may not need to even fill it, especially in your reserves and your youth. Also, looking at your first team squad, you want to assess how much you're paying some of these players and if they really are key starting lineup players, or if they're just going to be peripheral or in and out of the reserve team for you. So you gotta massage them, try to get some players out of the club on transfers, or just let their contracts expire after the first season and let them go. But make sure you're paying your best players the most money, and your worst players, make sure they're not costing a significant portion of your wage budget. Also, when you first start the save as well, you're going to want to set up your tactic, and you don't want to go crazy with these tactics down in the lower levels. These players are not super skilled, and it's better to be simple than complicated, especially with your team instructions and the formation you have set up. So for me, I just have a simple 4-3-3 with a defensive midfielder and pretty simple instructions and roles. So I try to keep it simple and consistent for these players to get used to the formation and build relationships with each other so they can get into some good form and play well throughout the season for you. Also, we've just been promoted, So we went from being one of the best teams in our previous division to one of the probably the worst teams in the division above. So we've kind of switched our mentalities. We're going back, starting at the defense and building a solid defensive formation to try to stabilize results and just ease ourselves into this new division. Another thing I'll mention later is your transfers that have impacted this as well. Also, looking at the training calendar, we're in the preseason right now, so we don't see a lot here. But here you can see the first week of the season, we are only on a part-time schedule. So most of the players are on part-time contracts. We get about 3 sessions a week or 3 days of training a week between matches, unless we have matches in the midweek as well. We'll get even less training. But you kind of want to focus. This is what I do. I usually go and focus on match preparation every week as the season goes along. So I usually have a match practice session and a match tactics session at some point in the week. Also, match practice will take a lot more out of your players physically than tactics. So sometimes if you got a condensed schedule, you don't want to have a match practice in there as well. But then you can rotate. You can do your attacking movement or defensive shape if you want to focus on that. I like the teamwork session just to build familiarity with the tactic. And occasionally I'll put in some physical sessions, which could help because they don't really get a lot of physical training throughout the season, other than the early preseason when you're focusing on that physical ramp up for the beginning of the season. But and then the other thing I try to do is a extracurricular activity bi-weekly. So that's good for morale and the dynamics of the squad to do either community outreach or a team bonding session at some point. Another thing to note, club vision is really important in the game. You should really pay attention to your club culture and the goals that your board sets out for you to meet throughout the season. You really want to meet all of those goals and play the style of football that the club wants you to play in order to keep the board happy with you as you go along. Also, looking at the Dynamics tab on the left, this is also really important in Football Manager. You can see your social groups, your hierarchy in the team, who are your team leaders, who are your highly influential players, and so on and so on. You want to keep these guys on your side throughout the season. If you make somebody upset who's a team leader or a highly influential player, that is going to affect the rest of your squad, and it's going to cause you headaches. So all in your individual player interactions and team meetings, keep in mind who those players are that are most influential in your team. All right, let's get into the transfers now. So this is tricky because you won't be able to find really high quality scouts to work for you unless you get lucky, right? So what I tend to do is I do have a few scouts, and I've added some players to my short list that they've pointed out. I've got some filters turned on here, so if we remove that, I do have quite a number of players in my short list, and I tend to only add players with high potential to my short list from my scouting reports. But if you're really looking for players for particular positions, I'd just go through the player search up here, the generic player search. I filter by whatever position I'm looking for. So this is a defensive midfielder. And then I'm literally going through. You can focus on a specific age group. I've got the age column sorted here. So goes for older. This goes from oldest to youngest. But you can also see their value and their wage costs. And then I'm going through and kind of assessing what kind of information we have. We don't have a lot of their attributes visible, but you can see in their career stats how they've been playing at their previous club in the previous season. And I kind of use that as a barometer to potentially bring them into my squad and help improve my team for this season coming. Just, it's kind of like real life. If a player's done well at his previous club and he has so many assists and goals and man of the matches and average ratings and things like that, you've got that data in front of you in this screen, and you can assess how this guy is going to fit into your team. Another option, loans. Very important. You can bring in players from higher divisions into your lower division squad on loan for the season. There's lots of opportunity for this. This is one player I just picked up on loan, and he's a young player. So any players that are young, looking for match experience, they will be good candidates for loans. You can contact the team just by going into and make an offer, and you can choose loan offer. And it's not letting me here because I've already loaned him, but you can negotiate the terms there suggested, and usually they'll accept that if he's available for loan, and they're not going to use him in their first team anyways. All right, going back into the Youth Development Center down here in the Development Center tab, you can assess what kind of prospects that are coming through. But this club in particular, their youth facilities are pretty poor. I'm not sure where that information is, but they are pretty poor, I know. So it's not, you're not going to have a lot in your youth intakes. You might get lucky with somebody, but most of the time you're not really going to have anyone coming through in your youth ranks until you upgrade your youth facilities. Also, if you're like me and you like to start these lower league saves with no coaching qualifications or any experience whatsoever, kind of like starting from nothing and seeing where it goes, every season, it's going to be difficult to do this mid-season, but at the end of the season, you can go into your Club Vision tab and go to your board requests, make a board request for, in the personal, it will show up here, coaching courses. You can take coaching courses every off season. So right now I'm studying for the National C license. If we look at my profile here, right here, you can see I'm studying for my National C license. So every year I plan on upgrading my coaching credentials, and then that's going to bring in more job offers too. For this particular save, I'm doing a Journeyman, so I want to see what clubs are going to come in and offer me jobs. One more thing to note, your assistant managers and your coaching advice and your staff advice, you got to take it with a grain of salt at this level because they don't have the best skills compared to you, even your own mind, as to assess the current situation of some of your players. So it may be that their current ability assessment is a little off, or who they think should be starting in the next match could be a little off. Don't take everything they suggest to you and just apply it to your squad, because that could cause havoc. Be smart. Think about what you want to do and do it. That's all my advice is for this. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that, and I hope that helps you guys navigate the lower leagues a little bit better and with a little more clarity. Remember to smash the like button if you like this video and subscribe to my channel for more Football Manager content like this, and I will see you next time. Peace.